588.
And we need help this month. We are trying to stay alive.
Yes.
And God has blessed us in such a mighty way. And Lori and I, just came from the inauguration, and we've been working on getting Trump elected.
Yeah.
And we went there and we saw it happen.
Yes.
And I'll tell you, it was a wild, wild day of praise. It was like the Spirit of God descended on Washington, D.C.
Yes.
It was so exciting.
So
And
thankful.
so we need your help. Anything you can do to stand with us. And if you want it, we had a lot of folks, and I want to thank you for giving in the SOS offering.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone
so
out there
much.
that you want to give, and just any offering, Save Our Stations, it was SOS.
Right.
If you would like to give, just send us an offering to help us. And I know God's going to honor you as you give as a thanksgiving
That's right.
unto the Lord.
Right.
Let's get back to our program right now. I'm telling you,
Oh, it's great.
if you saw what Lori and I, we saw many months ago now, when we went to Detroit, that beautiful city. It was a beautiful city. You're not old enough, I guess, to remember Detroit when it was beautiful. But I lived in Michigan, Muskegon, and so we drive across to Detroit. Detroit looks like a bomb hit it.
Mm-hmm.
It's horrible. The beautiful
Very
buildings
sad.
are demolished. They're look at there, eaten out. They're destroyed. Why would a building like that beautiful house, why should that be falling down? Trump would do something with it. I'd donate them to people. I'd get them restored. There's money that can go into things. I'll guarantee you Donald Trump could rebuild Detroit, Michigan in a couple of years. But the enemies are content with this, and they're leaving people living in this squalor and then expecting them to vote for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not voting anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to do it. They're going to change. I think there's going to be a change. But the warfare in this thing, what's going to be next with all of this happen, Lance? What do you think's next for the president? What can you see coming?
Well, he's going to be making a Supreme Court pick. That's going to be a whole new flurry of activity. But the thing about Donald Trump that fascinates me, that he's like the road runner with the Wile E. Coyote.
Totally. Yes.
Every time it looks like, he's been underestimated of everything he's ever done. Every time, the 1,000-pound iron anvil comes down, and it's like, beep, beep, he moves, and the coyote's there, and it lands on its head.
It's so true.
What I will predict will happen is, every time they think they've got him, he will go beep, beep, and tweet, tweet. And he will tweet, and he will do something. And they haven't figured this out. I almost don't want to say it. I'll tell you, and they still won't pay attention.
That's right.
What Trump does is, he changes the subject of what they're upset about while he's doing something over here. So notice he's getting all these people approved, and they're all going through right now. You know why? Because he keeps on doing some incendiary thing over here. Let's talk about the crowd size while he's getting his people through. Then he's going to go over here and so what he does is, he tweets, and the media chases him to go get him, and then Leviathan clamps down. While they're spinning, he's already down the street doing something.
That's right. So brilliant. It's brilliant that you understand that.
I understand his devious mind. I'm New Yorker.
I'm going to tell you, what a brilliant mind God has given this man for this hour.
That's right.
But this man is a mystery, because every time we thought he was out, he knocked down 17 pins or people to get to that presidency. Knocked them out. Just
and
one after another.
What Trump has, and this is in the book, he has he's highly prophetic. And what he said to me, he said, it really all comes down to vision. Once I get a picture of something, once I see it, so think about this. Once God shows him the end product, he intuits a pathway forward. So the Bible says that, when God anointed the kings, do whatever occasion requires, is the word God gave them. Meaning, You won't need, I'm not going to give you details on every 100 choices you're about to make. Just work with the hand that you're given and your instincts will be right. Trump, the reason why Trump is uncanny is because he intuits a path. It's called the power of intentionality. If you did a psychological profile, he has intentionality. So once he sees the end, it's like God gives him a picture of a finished building or an ice rink. You know, he got the ice rink done in New York. Ed Koch couldn't get it done for 13 years. Trump's looking out his window. He calls me and says, "If no one else will do it, I'll do it.
Right.
I'll get it done. You take 13 years. I'll get it done this year." He said when he hung up the phone, the mayor took him at his word. He said, "All right, big mouth, you're criticizing me? You get it done." And then Trump said this. This is so characteristic of him. This will scare you.
I love it.
He said he hung up the phone and thought, "I don't know anything about ice rinks."
Right, right.
He just had a picture of the end product. And he sat back and said, "Who does know anything about ice rinks?" He said, "Canadians. It's cold up there." So he said, "They play hockey." So he calls the #1 hockey ice ring builder and says, "Come to New York. I want to talk to you." The guy comes down. He says, "Look at this." The guy goes, "I could get it done." He hires him, gets it done under budget in 6 months. Now, the point is,
that's the secret.
Right.
That's the secret of Trump. You just
he zigzags. I listen. Now, why was he saying the incendiary things that he said? Why did he say, John McCain, well, I like people that don't get this, or about, well, they're sending some rapists. Not all good people are coming from Mexico. Why would anybody? I told them, I said, you're like George Washington, and they had bullets, horses shot out from under him, bullets through his coat. It's like, if you don't know the grace of God is on you, you just don't know what's going on, because you should have been dead by now politically. And he said, he's looking at me, I said, it's the grace of God that kept you. He said, I think you're right. So here's what he did. Yeah. When he was saying those crazy things, I listened to one of his business partners explain to me what was going on. He said, don't you understand? He's with 17 other experienced politicians. How will he distinguish himself from the pack? He has to do something outrageous. And I'll tell you what, I thought he was going to blow the Catholic vote, because I covered his dust up with the Pope. Who in their right mind has a debate with the Pope? Donald Trump. There's not a politician in history that wants to have a shouting match with the Pope, especially this Pope.
Yeah.
But this Pope made one mistake. Ventured into criticizing Donald Trump on his immigration policy and calling into question the Christian values of Donald Trump. And I'll never forget it. I was trying to take a nap. And I'm so exhausted. I was at Andrew Wommack's. I'm exhausted. I was teaching all day. I go to lay down and I go look at the news. And all of a sudden, Donald Trump comes on with his hair blowing. And he said, I have this to say to the Pope. What he said was inappropriate. And I'm a Christian and I'm proud of it.
For a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful. I'm proud to be a Christian, and as president, I will not allow Christianity to be consistently attacked and weakened. No leader, especially a religious leader, should have the right to question another man's religion or faith.
And it was like a Red Bull got ejected in me. I went zip like that. I said, what the heck did he just do? Was that the Pope? And I went out, I'm looking at the damage control. I'm going, oh my God, I can't believe he just yelled at the Pope. And so, but what's funny is, like, in his mind, how dare somebody question his religion because he's a Christian, he's proud of it. You realize this might be the first president that will actually make a declaration that America is a Christian nation?
Oh, thank you.
I believe that.
We got to pray for that, Jim.
Yeah.
Because what happened in England when Wilberforce overturned slavery, he said, if I can get the king to make a proclamation from his office, out of his mouth, saying that Great Britain is a Christian nation, the authority of that utterance with a gathering of elites will enable the Christian movement to move so powerfully, we will overturn slavery. I think if Donald Trump can make the statement, America is a Christian nation, it will light the engines on this country so that we can see a rapid acceleration.
Amen.
Amen. What about the Israeli thing? They're wanting to move the embassy. And he's getting a lot of flack on that right now.
Oh, of course he's getting flack on it.
You'd think it would be so simple just to move a building from one town to the other.
yeah. But you know what? I'll tell you right now, Israel is the people that are in the know are so relieved that Donald Trump is president right now in Israel.
That's right.
Can you imagine? No news covering this, but on what was it? It was Hanukkah, the beginning of Hanukkah, right before the Christmas holiday kicks in. The United Nations gets together and votes with America's participation in annexing and taking the Jews and basically positioning them in such a way that they are now enemy occupants at their own Temple Mount and Wailing Wall. This was one of the most insidious Haman-like actions that the United States president ever could have done against Israel, and there was barely a peep.
Yes.
Yeah.
There should have been a march on that in Washington.
Yes. Yes.
Because what the United States did was it voted with an Antichrist alliance in order to take away from Israel their historic right to even be at the wall and Temple Mount that we can read in the Bible where history has the Jews.
Yeah.
4,000 years worth of history.
Right.
Just basically delegitimized their existence. Trump comes along and with a nod and a wink says, ignore it. Don't worry about it. I'm here.
It's very important that we do stand with Israel. That's a deal we can't fool with.
Absolutely. And if you look at the president's choice for who he wants to send as an ambassador to Israel,
right,
you will find no more aggressive amplification of God's protection of Israel than the man that he's picked to go represent the United States.
Right.
So I have every confidence that the spirit of Antichrist globally has been stunned by the reversal in the United States. I think what God did even caught the devil by surprise.
Do you feel the church is having a spiritual awakening? Do you think it's any signs of it?
Yeah,
I mean, I don't want everybody to go back and sit in the pew again and just never come out.
My greatest concern is that the church is having that the walls of Jericho have come down flat, and we're so used to walking in circles and having a conversation with ourselves that we don't recognize how to go in. See, when Donald Trump said that he's talking to the movement, you have to understand the movement he's talking to were a large number of voters, and the other half of it was Christians.
That's right.
Christians are going to have to move. We're looking for a move of God, and I think God's looking for a move of us.
Yes.
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 And so what this means is, on a local level, Christians are going to have to organize. And I'm sorry to say this, but you're going to have to organize around established ministries in many places.
Yeah.
Because established ministries don't want to get into controversy. They don't want to have riots. They don't want to have negative press. They don't want their donor base to be disrupted. But if you're a grassroots believer in the move of God, the kind of people that are watching this program, then you are the nation's underground. And you're going to have to realize that your greatest power, this is the humbling reality, isn't national. You can pray for the president, and you ought to, versus someone else just writing a Facebook post. You want to send your emails, your Twitters, your gathering. You want to become more active. And I want to talk to you about this, Jim, because I think that we can work together more on this, because I've got an office now I'm opening up in Washington, 2 blocks from the Capitol.
Great.
Because the Lord said proximity is power. So I'm going to be spending more time in D.C. And the Lord took me to the press club. I spoke at the press club. The Lord said, guys like us are going to be the journalist activists that are mobilizing a new move of God.
Absolutely.
And I didn't know about your background in journalism, but we got to get your journalism credentials going, because Mr. Trump is going to expand his press corps, get this, to include other bloggers and media people that represent his movement, and that'll be guys like us. And we can ask the question that we want him to address.
Yeah, that's so good.
You know, I get most of my news from a Christian source now, including Charisma,
right,
and True News, and different companies,
right.
And I never dreamt I would see the day where the church would become the avenue of news. And we're supposed, do you know we're supposed to be looking and be watchmen on the wall? That's what God told me I have to do. That's why I do news. I do news because I'm in the book of Revelation. We're in the last days.
Well, this is
an
the
amazing
good news.
time.
That's right.
We're supposed to be the news people.
That's right.
Yeah.
don't get overly optimistic about this, because in the convulsions of this next crucible, there are going to be seasons when the enemy's going to have, where we're going to have setbacks, and you're going to want to be able to have the resources you need. There will be regional confrontations as this battle rolls through the country. There will be riots. I will predict it. I don't want to say it, but the manifestation, here's what happened. When Jesus went to go heal an epileptic boy, the demon rent him before it came out. That means the more America awakens, the more violent will be the rending as the demons come out.
Yeah.
You said you sensed the spirit of Jezebel in D.C. when the Women's March. I want to tell you something. They're angry, and it's a different. It is. Now they didn't burn the place down, but they had the spirit of Antichrist. That's the spirit.
Totally. But here's the good part. Here's the part we got to grab. We've got to recover not only the spirit of truth and the prophetic authority of utterance, but we have to also recover a winsome way of framing reality. My son, who's a millennial, told me, I had a book, I'm reading it on Jon Stewart and The Daily Show, because the Lord is having me look at media and comedy. And he said, I'm going to unleash an army of comedian activists who are going to mock the false prophets of Baal.
Wow. And
I said, that's what we're missing. Because when Elijah was there confronting the false prophets, he mocked their deities. And I asked the Lord, I said, well, sarcasm and humor doesn't seem to be an appropriate thing for Christians. The Lord said, well, it was appropriate for Elijah. It's like Ronald Reagan saying, shut up.
That's right.
And I'm calling you out right now, because Christians are script writers, and they are comedians, and they are stuck on these secular roles where they have to write the goofball jokes for the liberal talk show hosts. It's time that we had a moment when we delivered witty commentary on the reality of what's going on.
Yes.
Wow,
Excellent.
that's powerful.
It is powerful.
I need you all pray for your children, your grandchildren. I need writers in this ministry. That we've got to start writing.
Yeah.
We need lots of writers. I need a staff of writers.
Yes.
I do. I need journalists.
Yes.
I do. And I need producers like this young lady here. This gal came to this place, what, 7, 8 years ago? 7 years ago.
Yeah.
7 years ago. And she didn't know a thing about anything in broadcasting.
No, not at all.
She came out of the wild city.
Right out of San Francisco at 18.
And here she is. She produces this show. She needs help.
Yes.
And we're producing more shows. We're producing a network. But we need writers. There's so much. And on the millennials, that's Lori's burdened about this.
I am.
We have got to reach this generation.
Yes.
All those marching women, Jesus loves them.
Yes.
We've got to.
We have to.
We've got to get off this. We've been in a war, but now we've got to get them saved and give them hope. And I know you have some answers. I hope you'll come back a lot, because I want you to teach us what you're learning out there, because you really go out in the world.
Yeah.
Even though your chariot burned up this time. We've got to have the total awakening. We will never win another election if we don't start reaching our young people. Our young people are not going to church overall, and that's just an overstatement. But I mean, most of them have stopped going to church, and if they haven't stopped by college, they're not going anymore.
And we are going to have a youth awakening. However, it's going to happen when we engage them through social media and comedy and wit and commentary and bold activism. And I hate to say, I won't say who, but there's a couple of really edgy artists or speakers out there that are young, that are getting protests at their events, and they're actually getting great publicity out of the protests. In this hour, opposition is going to build your platform. That's the word that the Lord wants you to know. Don't be afraid of persecution. The Lord keeps telling me, don't be afraid of it, Lance. It's going to build your platform.
So good.
We will be right back after this